Hey everybody, how you doing? Drew Griffin here, and this video is an insider's look inside of a Chamber of Commerce. I'm extremely privileged, proud, and really just lucky to have developed a relationship, a friendship with Eileen, who is the president of a Chamber of Commerce, specifically the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce here in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. Eileen, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the program. And
thank you.
Why don't you give everybody that's viewing here, who are probably business owners, new business owners, marketers, advertisers, salespeople, people or any type of business really who may be interested in learning how to get more out of the Chamber of Commerce. We're dubbing this kind of Chamber Secrets and Insider's Look, right? And before we jump into that, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about your background and what your role here is at the Chamber.
Sure. My name is Eileen. I'm president of the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce, which I have been since 2010. I've actually been with the organization in a full-time role since 1999. So last year I celebrated my 20th anniversary with the organization. I started in 1999 as an executive vice president, sort of a second in command. After I was, I guess you could say, a failed teacher. Just decided that profession really wasn't for me. It wasn't a fit. So I chose to leave the teaching profession. And fortunately, I had interned here at the Chamber many, many years ago. And the woman who was looking to hire the second in command was my boss then. We had a connection. It's all about the network. And I was able to come back and have been here ever since.
And you've ascended from second in command to now you are...
I'm it.
You're it. Right. There you go.
I take full responsibility.
Top of the top, understands the hierarchy, understands membership and all that kind of stuff. Now, over the years, you've seen businesses come and go.
Sure.
A lot of those businesses probably have stayed over the number of years. Can you speak to a little bit about the membership base, like what kinds of businesses are involved at the Chamber?
So we are, I don't want to say unique because a lot of chambers have a variety of types of businesses. Obviously, the demographics of an organization are going to change based on where you are. Mm-hmm. If you're in a larger city that has a lot more of a corporate presence, you will have a little bit more participation in that area than we probably do here at Tri-County. Our territory covers a portion of 3 different counties. So we really run everything from the small mom and pop, to the over 1,000 employees, at each of our local school districts, the power plant, Limerick generating station, utility provider, our local hospital. So we're very fortunate to have those organizations believe in our organization and want to be a part of it and support it. And then you have everybody in between, so the 30 person engineering firm, across the street or, down, 10 miles down the street, the 50, person manufacturing plant. So, we really run the variety, in every industry, restaurants to, massage therapists to, like I said, manufacturers to auto detailers. It's
everything in between.
It is. Right? It really is.
It's a nice melting pot of businesses.
It is.
That's awesome. I've got some stinger questions
that
our audience is probably going to want to know about it. So this is a real real Chamber of Commerce that is made up of all kinds of businesses, from solopreneurs to medium-sized businesses and very large entities, 1,000 member or 1,000 employee plus membership and that sort of thing. So it varies, right? Depending on who your target is and who not target, but who the types of businesses that you are interested in working with or connecting with. This is probably a similar makeup of other chambers that you may be a member of. All right, so let's get into some of the nitty-gritty. How does a chamber work in terms of business per se? I mean, it is a business into it of itself, right?
It is. We are a nonprofit. We are not a charitable nonprofit. We're a 501c6, not a 501c3. If you know anything about nonprofits in this day and age and the way they have changed, you should be seeking out to work with nonprofits that run themselves like a small business. So I consider myself running a small business, even though, it's not personally mine. It is still to a certain extent personally mine, especially with the history I've had here.
Yeah.
I do take some ownership, but, it really is about, again, we're a nonprofit, so we're not making a ton of income, but I still have salaries to pay. I have operating expenses. So I am doing everything that a small business would. I have to make those same decisions and prioritize, things based on what's going to be best for the organization.
So keep that in mind as you're starting to consider chamber membership, or if you're already in a chamber that's structured like the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce, to keep that in the back of your mind. You're actually dealing with a nonprofit business that has responsibilities, has deadlines, has budgets and constraints
Agreed.
and stuff like that. So it shouldn't always be a take situation. You should try to deliver value to them so they can continue to do business and provide value to you. So let's continue with that a little bit. Can you speak to the structure, the hierarchy of the chamber? I mean, you're the president.
I am the president. There are 4 staff that work for the Tri-County Chamber, not including myself, 4 additional staff. I am managed to answer to a board of directors, as well as an executive committee who serve as the officers of our board. So the chairman, the chair-elect, treasurer, the immediate past chairman, and we have a solicitor who's with us, part of our organization. And those individuals make personnel decisions. They're kind of my checks and balance. And then they obviously have a full additional board that they are also responsible to as the officers of the board. And that's sort of how our decisions are made. I personally, and again, this would depend on the chamber, I'm fortunate that I'm not micromanaged. So I do have, a pretty significant amount of control to make decisions on a daily basis for the organization. Also with my history here and the time that I have been here and the woman that I learned a lot of this industry from, we have represented ourselves as a staff-driven organization. So I would also, if you're looking at other chambers and, even possibly looking to move into a volunteer role with another chamber, keep in mind, we're not always the same in the way we structure what we do. So some organizations are smaller and may need a little bit more hands-on help. We do not that we don't want it, but it muddies the waters a little bit.
Yeah.
So we don't have board members or committee members sitting at a registration table, taking registration and passing out name tags. We're doing that. Right. We're contacting sponsors and we're making those asks for events. Do we want that support, and do we want other members encouraging other people to get involved in the way they are? Most definitely. And we're not going to say no to that. But when it comes time for those day-to-day transactional things to happen, we take care of that, for the most part, in almost all cases on our end. Some organizations, chambers, other nonprofits aren't necessarily that. They may need more from you in a volunteer role.
Got it. What I'm hearing from this is that, you have a lot of autonomy here, and recognizing what you and your amazing staff have done.
Thank you.
You do work really hard, and as a result of doing that, I'm assuming that board has recognized that, the board has recognized that, and don't micromanage you. But on the other side of the spectrum is, I'm assuming that there's a lot of responsibility, which is probably equated to some of the pressures that you as a president, your team, and the membership or the chamber board kind of feel, right? It's an organization, it's a business. You kind of have to perform.
Right.
Can you speak to some of those pressures that you might be under? I mean, it could be adding value to the membership numbers, non-dues revenue, that sort of thing. Well, what are some of those pressures that you really feel day to day?
You can check all of those off. It is the same pressures that any small business, would have. We can have a conversation, about an event that's not getting the right amount of numbers, or our membership person not bringing in the right number of members. that was budgeted, if you want to call it that.
Quota and that
Right.
sort of thing.
We have to figure out an operating plan of some sort. So every year we create an operating budget, and that is based on a certain number of members. That's based on a certain number of members that are already in the organization, staying in the organization. That's based on that event participation and finding that value. So all of those things have to be thought about, and they all have to hopefully turn out the way we anticipated them turning out. That doesn't always happen. The chamber secret side of me doesn't want to say this, but I have no control over somebody renewing their membership. I hope that I have created value, but when I send that invoice for you to maintain your membership for the next year, I can't promise that it's coming back.
Right.
So that's a constant struggle for us, is just to make sure that we do find value, or that our members do find value with their membership, but that's a constant challenge that on a cash flow basis, I can send out this many invoices, but I don't know that they're coming back.
Yeah.
And those things ultimately will limit, how much staff I can maintain, and how much time people do have to creating that value because of X that might have happened over here. So all of those things that you just rattled off are a constant battle. I fight against myself because I have been here for so many years. I was 1999 to 2008, completely different world, for the business community.
Sure.
So I lived those days, which were some good days.
Yeah.
This world, looks a little different. So, it is fighting for every dollar. It's fighting for people's time. I've got, not me, but I'm a member, and I've, got kids in after school sports or music or
Your
whatever the
family.
case may be. I do. But she's off of college. I don't worry
Still
about her.
family. Still family.
But it's, I now have to figure out, well, can I count on members to take that time to come out to a business card exchange that's, going an extra hour or two after work hours, and if they have to leave early to go to a child's thing, well, now maybe they can't come to a lunch event that we have planned because they need that time in the office. So, we're battling against, people's time, people's resources, and what I'm really trying to challenge our staff to do is to find value. You will always find time for the things that provide value.
That's right.
You'll figure it out. So we need to be figured out, so that we can make sure you're finding that value. And for me, that takes individual communication with every member, which is difficult with a membership of 550 and getting all of them to want to give me that time.
Mm-hmm.
But the time that it takes me to explain to you where you could do the most with your membership in a half an hour saves us both a lot of grief. It saves you emails, and scanning through to see if there's something that's a fit for you.
Mm-hmm.
Our staff knows this organization inside and out.
Yeah.
So if you tell me, you had mentioned at the beginning of, this session, who your audience might be, who the membership is made up of, I can tell you where you're going to find the people that you need to connect with,
Right.
And it may mean you're going to have to spend a couple bucks to come to an event. But if you can walk away with an account or a new contact that maybe not that day, but in a couple months can translate into a couple $1,000, you probably just made that ticket price back.
Yeah.
So
I got a question. What I just heard there is a number of different things. And for those of you who are paying attention and heard what I heard is, getting in and connecting with the president, getting in and connecting with your staff who know how to navigate, who know the audience, you can leverage them and the chamber to be connectors. They know exactly who needs your help. They know exactly the events that you should be attending to connect with those individuals. Heck, they may even be a source of an introduction, a physical introduction. Now, I know that that's true because, Eileen, you just introduced me to an external organization.
yes,
which I think is totally cool because, listen, not a lot of organizations will have the tolerance to do that. They won't reach out and go outside the circle of their own organization. Totally cool. Find that to be attractive. And you did a solid by me to give me a speaking opportunity. Made some connections with that organization as well.
Good.
And I still come home. I come back to the Tri-County Chamber of Commerce, which is awesome. And so the other thing here is you're starting to hear some themes, some ideas of how you might be able to help an organization help you, right? So there's some non-dues revenues, there's some membership challenges, some stresses that Eileen and her staff and the chamber as a whole experience. Those are the stresses, because ultimately it comes down to numbers. And if you continuously have a decline, in some regards, the board and that you answer to are probably going to have some questions as to, maybe we need to shift methods and that sort of thing. But fortunately, I can see some of the things that you guys are doing, and it's amazing. The connections, the effort, the consistent effort that you deliver, the quality effort that you put into promotion of businesses, the events, and all those types of things to continue to deliver value to those members. Let's just save time to be respectful of your time. There's a bunch of questions here that I want to get to.
Not a problem.
So this one's a little bit of a tough one. I kind of threw this as a curveball to you, but this may relate back to what you were just talking about. What's one question that you wished new members would ask you?
I think,
more often, rather.
Yeah. I guess, it seems kind of basic, but I really think that question is what do they, I guess I want them to ask me what I think they should do. So I want that opportunity to provide input. There are a number of benefits. There are various benefits that impact you in different places and in different ways in your business. There are benefits that you, as the CEO, the business owner, maybe our primary contact, aren't going to necessarily take advantage of. So I need you as that person to be passing it along to the appropriate person within your organization. A lot of chambers are based on the number of employees is how we figure out your membership dues. It's a little antiquated, but it's a process that most still work with. So we consider any employee also a member. So just because you've given us one name as the primary contact and that owner doesn't mean you're the only person to represent the organization. And sometimes it's those other people that we also need to connect with to make sure you're taking the advantage of all of the things you possibly could. So I think just asking, and that's such a simple question, but it's hard for me to be able to send that messaging or provide that information in emails or in attachments that I can put in emails. It's really that face-to-face conversation. I can read your application and it can say why you joined and, the areas of our benefits that you think you're going to take advantage of. But until you're asking that question of me of what I think you need, I can't help you piece it all together. Everybody has not a lot of time, not a lot of resources, and a lot of people come into a chamber of commerce, and some of the feedback that a membership person like ours or, in other organizations will get is, I'm not going to join because I don't have the time. But you don't need the time. You don't need to come to every event. If your target market is this particular group of people, and I can tell you, you're never going to see that group of people at this particular event, then you can stop wasting your time going to that event.
That makes sense.
To go back to your piece about the connector, we tell, I tell that at every opportunity I get with individuals in a small group lunch that we hold a couple times a year. If there's somebody you want to connect with, email me, talk to me, tell me who it is. I will send that email, and it's not that I have some superpower, But it's usually,
You got superpower. Here you go.
it's unusual that somebody who's a member of a membership organization, you chose to be a member, is going to say, oh no,
Right.
I'm not going to give my time to another chamber member. That's absurd on their part, and very short-sighted. So it's very rare. And I think it may have happened once, but there was some personal issues.
It happens.
But that somebody said, no, I wouldn't meet with someone. So I tell chamber members, take advantage of that. If you're having trouble getting in the door, I can't send a blanket correspondence out for you to 550 members unless you're going to pay for it,
Right,
because, that's where we generate some of our revenue, is giving you that access.
Well, speak to that for just a second. Do
Sure.
you think that would be worth it for an audience that just joined the Chamber of Commerce? Would it make sense for them to pay for an email blast?
Again, it depends. For some, yes,
Mhm.
sure. It's an easy way. Our email list, is I think between 1,300, 1,500. It gives you access to those people in one quick shot.
These are real businesses,
right.
Members.
These are various contacts, in the different companies, so I don't think it hurts. I think it just depends on what that message is and whether or not that is your correct access point. The thing that I think I encourage, when I just mentioned about the people who don't want to join because they don't think they have the time, then we have the other people who don't think, they're not going to sell to the other businesses that are in our region. Well, we have manufacturers who, they're not selling their product to the bulk, if anybody, within this chamber membership, but they consider it a community resource. They consider it training for their staff because of some of the benefits we provide in that area. They see it as an opportunity to just show community support. But it's also just the opportunity to interact with people, because at the end of the day, we're all still consumers.
Yeah, that's right.
So just because I don't need your insurance for XYZ company, it doesn't mean that I don't end up talking to my sister later in the day and she mentions some woe she is having. And I can go, oh, you know what? I just met this person. You really should reach out to them. Everybody is a consumer. So just because you think you're not going to do business with someone, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get something out of that relationship and they're not going to get something out of that relationship. It all is interconnected,
right.
But you just have to open your mind to see it that way and not ultimately just look at, and I'm pointing at you because we had this conversation offline,
Mm-hmm.
That it is really down to the relationship and not just trying to get a sale.
Relationships, guys. So part of that is being a good steward of your membership, right? Buy chamber,
Right.
So buy chamber first. And if you can't find it, then you find a resource that might be outside of the Chamber of Commerce. Just makes sense, right? Because ultimately, if you want those referrals back in return, it just makes sense to play nice in the sandbox.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Hey, I'm bringing my ball and we're going to play with it, that sort of stuff.
Very true.
All right. So a couple more questions and I'll be very respectful of your time. So for a member that is truly looking to fully leverage or hack the chamber, hack their membership, what roles specifically would maybe the 1 to 3 people at the chamber, the board, the administration level, who should they absolutely get in touch with? Is it the president? Is it member services? Is it marketer person? Combination thereof?
I'm not trying to be self-serving or
No, be
all-knowing,
self-serving. Go ahead.
but it really, I'm probably the easiest person to connect with, and I don't, again, for those who are listening and are members in other places, it's not necessarily the same story. I have been here so long that I know a wealth of people, and I know information about their organizations. I know information about individuals who used to be in their organizations. So I have a little bit more knowledge, to kind of have members capitalize on. I do feel any of our staff, are good resources because they know their job is to be a good resource. So if they don't have the answer, they all know how to connect you to the person who can get you the answer. So I don't think that it always has to be me. And if you can't get to me, which is very unlikely, any of our staff will go above and beyond, to help you. It's not our way of thinking, that we will just end it as no, we can't help you. We will go to whatever degree we need to connect you to, again, maybe not the answer, but somebody else that we think is a better resource to answer your question. We are extremely customer service oriented. We answer the phone. You do not go through a voicemail system here unless you're calling off hours, so. But if you're not in an organization like ours that is customer service focused, then you might be in the wrong organization. We don't exist without our members. So if we're not here to serve them to the best of our ability,
you're missing your mission.
Exactly, for sure.
Do you think that organizations like yours or other chambers that some of our viewers might be attending, do you think that's a common mission that most administration is looking to do to serve their members, or are they a little bit more closed-minded? Or does it vary?
It varies. We participate. We're part of a national association as well as a state level association. There's associations for everything. So there's one for chambers of commerce, and I really think it varies. I think there are people who, depending on the area that they've been in, have been able to ride the coattails of a successful region or area and haven't really needed to do the deep dive that we had to do here as an organization. We went through a heavy transition in 2010, and our reorganization was not pretty. It had to happen, to be perfectly honest. And it left some hard decisions for this organization, and we've kind of been trying to find our way ever since, back to being that valued organization and sort of the golden ticket, I like to call it.
I think you're doing a great job.
That you have to be a member. It's no longer a question of, should I join? It's no, that the people that are already members are out on the street saying, no, you have to be a member. And that comes from everything that you can package in for any member, no matter what their size, or what they look like. It's, I forget what your question was.
No,
we bird walked into.
I know it's good, but that actually leads me into another question, and we'll wrap things up. So you mentioned state level, kind of a regional level, and a national level. I would assume that for most of our viewers that are looking to get involved with the Chamber of Commerce, pick one that's local to you, and really try to bring a lot of value to them. For those who do that successfully, is there a pathway to get on the radar of the state level organization and national, or would that mean just going from other areas and joining those types of organizations?
It is possible. What happens a lot within our industry is we borrow from each other.
Okay, that's good.
So what ends up happening is, there's a big Facebook group of Chamber of Commerce professionals. It's a closed group to only those in the industry, and ideas go back and forth. So any one of us find a good speaker or a good resource. In most cases, we're happy to share that information. Hopefully you're not our neighbor right down the street, and maybe you're a couple states over. So we try to be respectful of that as well. But sure, there is that opportunity to provide value enough that it gets us as staff to notice, that we want to, continue to help that person, who we know can provide value to other organizations like ours, kind of like, I did with the other organization that you spoke to. There's no reason, again, we want our members, we as the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce, I can't speak for all, I hope I could, that we want our members to be successful. That's the end game.
That is the end game.
So whatever we can do to have that happen, and a lot of that comes from those meetings and that member feedback. If I don't know what your expectations are, I'll never know if I met them or hopefully exceeded them. So
don't be afraid to have those conversations and understand.
Most definitely.
Speaking to that, if the chamber really provides you a lot of that value and gives you that referral and gets you into other organizations, either whether it's regional, statewide, nationwide, that sort of thing, be a good steward of that referral. Be a good steward of that and give back to those that are helping you get those introductions. Whether that's renewing your membership early, finding ways to bring in non-dues revenue, which would probably be helpful to an organization.
Sure, that would be.
You would take that?
I would.
All
Well,
right.
and I think just to add on to that, I do want to give you credit. We would not be doing some of the things that we are doing and have done as an organization without input from our members. Again, when I talk to the customer service piece and, without the members, we don't exist. I work for the membership. It's not my organization at the end of the day. It's the organization that the members need it to be. So we had a networking program for a number of years that was an idea brought to us by a chamber member. We have Chamber Chat, which is our podcast. We have your support in taking that podcast and having it Facebook Live video accessible. And none of those things would have happened if chamber members like yourself and our friend Bill, who brought the podcast idea to us. I wouldn't be doing those things if somebody in the membership wouldn't have said, you know what, let's do this. And it's nothing that is ultimately the end game is not, not the end game, but the starting point wasn't for either of you to make money from it. It was to change your way of being exposed to the membership. So, Bill takes that opportunity as the host of that podcast. He meets, at least 8 people walking in this door every time he records. You do the same. You now have relationships with all of those people. It's just looking at opportunities like that where you can take your expertise, and sure, maybe it helps us a little bit as the organization in the long run, but that does nothing. That is so much more productive use of exposure. And, again, it's nothing that you're doing outside of what your comfort level is, because
You're not being charged.
It's your expertise,
Right.
and you're just volunteering and donating some time, which I understand, is still a huge commitment.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think the relationships that both of you may have made off of that opportunity, have far surpassed what you may have looked at, as the time. And I think, we've tried to make it fun, so that I think in itself it doesn't have to be this corporate mentality, stodgy organization that you may have pictured, of the bank, regimes,
Right.
how many years ago, which is, I think, the image that a lot of people have of chambers of commerce. We wouldn't be here anymore in this day and age if we were what they call your grandfather's chamber of commerce. We would not be able to survive in that model. So, I thank people like you. I'd encourage all of the people that are listening, if there's a value that you feel personally that you can bring to that organization, offer it out. It may end up being extremely beneficial to you, and as you were mentioning, beneficial to the organization, which is, just a feel good, opportunity. So,
well, listen, I really appreciate your time with this. It's taken a lot of stress off of our shoulders. Finding a way to work with the Chamber of Commerce in a way that benefits both the chamber, the members, and us has been a tremendous relief and at the same time success for us. I know a lot of people who are watching this video, they don't know how to get through the front door.
right.
They don't like rejection. Nobody likes rejection.
No.
So at the surface level, even if you didn't do like a Facebook Live or a podcast or something like that, it's essentially your way in through the front door to meet and connect with other people. learning how to network effectively may be something worth practicing and getting better, which kind of leads me to maybe one of the last two questions. What mistakes do people typically make when going to a chamber event, whether it's a mixer or a networking business card exchange, that sort of thing? What kind of mistakes have you seen people do?
Well, we have this friend, and he's getting ready to retire, and he knows because we brought it up to him. He was the copier guy.
Okay.
And he would walk into a business card exchange or to a networking event, and you knew that if he was making his way to the group that you were at, everybody just kind of tensed up a little bit, right? Because it was, here he comes, he's going to try and sell us a copier, and it was just that mentality. And, the gentleman actually ended up being ambassador for our organization because we were able to have the conversation with him and explain to him that he was not doing himself any favors. We actually use, we're really trying to encourage members to build a relationship and not go into any networking opportunity or any situation within our organization with the sale as your first priority. We actually use an article that I saw. It's called Be the Bridge, and it's something as basic as, we send out a monthly newsletter email to the membership. It's not self-promoting. It's events that are on our community calendar. It's articles that have been sent to us that are resources for the chamber membership. It's job postings that other chamber members have. It's a networking tip or other professional development tip that we want to share. And I tell people, take 5 minutes when that email comes, look at it, because now you've found knowledge that you can pass along to the next time you talk to somebody, maybe a client or a customer that comes in, now their son is looking for a new job, well, hey, have you checked out the chamber's website? I know they have job postings. You having somebody else, so you've got family coming in from out of town, and are going to be in the area. Well, we check out the chamber's community calendar. You'll see what's going on in the area and what you can tap into. You now become that trusted resource, and that person's going to keep coming back to you because they've created this relationship with you because you helped them, genuinely helped them. It wasn't about, buy my copier. It was about, how can I connect you? And that's the mentality that he started to use. And like I said, he became a chamber ambassador because he became all about the connection. It was, oh, you know what? You need this. Let me introduce you to this other chamber member. He took himself completely out of the equation. Did it lead to business for him eventually? Sure, because people now saw him as a trusted resource and not just trying to sell a copier. But when I need a copier, guess who I'm going to go to?
You're going to go to the copy guy.
Right.
Yeah. That whole secret, actually, help people by actually helping them.
Right. It seems so basic.
So basic, but everybody forgets it. Sometimes I do. It's like I just want to kind of tell people about the stuff that I do and
Agreed.
All the tech stuff. And I think back to some of our interaction of then you go to this and you do this and you're like, whoa, Drew,
right.
Back up a little bit. All the tech stuff, right? It gets crazy. But, listen, just follow exactly what Eileen said and help people by actually helping them. Be a connector first. Connect with those businesses and genuinely be interested in how you can help them first. Learn about their business because ultimately most people like to talk about themselves.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yes.
And if you ask to have a meeting, hey, I want to learn more about you. I'd love to interview you.
Right.
That's going to be a good deal.
And I think that's an important part to, reflect on too, is it's not that everything has to happen immediately. A lot of people, and some of the networking stuff that I have read and we took a whole year. This was so important to us. We took a whole year focused on every month pushing out a different networking tip from a resource that we had connected to. And because we did have people going about it completely the wrong way. And if we didn't take the time to educate them, they were not going to find value in the chamber because they were going to think they were unsuccessful. However, they weren't pursuing it from, the right direction. So, I think it's really trying to figure out where you're going to be able to connect and using that, but it really is figuring out. And just like I mentioned, me coming back here, it creates a network that will just benefit you so many times over just because you have this access. And again, it's not just you having access to that person, you then have access to everybody that they're connected to. So
wise words. Well, listen, as we wrap things up, I just want to say I've learned a ton. So your previous profession as being a teacher,
yes,
is clear. You're doing an amazing job here at the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you very much,
You're
Drew.
teaching the organization that is filled with members how to network better, how to do better business, how to be a good steward inside the community. And I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your friendship, your guidance. I've learned a ton. I've got a lot of work to do in my networking. I actually have to attend some more of these networking events. Listen, the value that you get from a business card exchange is the connections. And when you truly seek to provide value to those other people first, learn more about how you can serve them first, help them get what they want, you're going to get as much back in return, probably 10x what you really are expecting back in return. So I can't thank you enough for this interview.
I appreciate the opportunity,
our
Drew.
audience. And for those of you who are interested in connecting and seeing what the amazing work that Eileen's doing, how can people find out more about the Tri-County Chamber?
Tri-County Chamber is tricountyareachamber.com is our website. A lot of information on our website. We are also very active on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find us through any of those channels. You can contact the Chamber office, 610-326-2900. Like I said, we answer the phone. You always talk to a person here at the office. So, even if it's not in our territory and you happen to be watching this, if I can help connect you to a fellow chamber exec in another area of the country, that's also something, we love to do, is connect people to, other great chamber connections that we are aware of within our industry. So happy to do that as well.
See, continuously adding value, even with that, making connections outside her organization, do the exact same thing, and you guys are going to benefit. So Chamber Secrets 2.0, insider interview with Eileen Dottrick of the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce, the president and the teacher and the matriarch of this organization. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Drew.